Hi Yogi, and welcome to another slow flow class with me, Oceana. This particular sequence is going to be focusing on some really fun and challenging transitions. For most of you, this will be quite unfamiliar territory, so I hope you're feeling game and are along for the ride. If you get lost, please don't worry about it too much. Just work at your own pace and remember that you can always come back to child's pose or any other resting position whenever you like. It's your practice after all. You might like to have some bricks at the front of your yoga mat. One works. If you have two, great. And then we'll be starting in a child's pose. When you're ready, join me there, Yogi. When you arrive on your yoga mat, separate your knees as wide as is comfortable. Walk the hands in front of you to rest either on your forearms or possibly on your forehead. Let your belly nestle all the way onto your thighs. Let the sitting bones descend towards the heels behind you if they can. Allow yourself just a few rounds of breath to really arrive, to leave the day that you've had before this behind you. Really focusing your attention on that deep inhale, expanding the front and back of the body, and the exhale softening you down towards the floor. Almost a sense that you might melt away as you exhale. And we'll gently take this into a side bend, so gradually lifting the head off the floor, walking the hands over to the left side, right hand on top of the left, and then pressing back to ground your right sitting bone towards the feet, and lengthening along the right side of the body. Inhale, walk the hands through center to the opposite side of the yoga mat. This time left hand is on top, again pressing the sitting bones back. Giving yourself that deep, deep side bend along the left side of the waist this time. Let the inhale take you back into the center line. Briefly come into a tabletop position just so you can slide your knees under the hips. And then walk your hands forward. Keep the hips on top of the knees, but let your chest descend towards the floor into puppy pose. Now, on an exhale, press into the balls of your hands, lift the chest and tuck your tailbone under. So you're trying to hollow out the front of the body and connect your lower rib cage to your hip points. Again, inhale, let the chest descend, lift your sitting bones, maybe take your eyes forward, let the chin rest on the floor. Exhale, press the ground away with your hands, round the spine up towards the ceiling. Finding that movement just 3 more times as you inhale to release and exhale to round and press the floor away. This final time as you come into puppy pose, feel free to stay here. Maybe you can release the chin onto the floor in front of you. I'm not going to do that because you'll lose me over the microphone. Finding just a little bit more release every time you exhale, chest softening towards the ground. On your next inhale, lifting up, pressing the floor away, walk the hands underneath your shoulders, step your left foot out to the side. As you inhale, lift your right fingertips up towards the ceiling. Exhale, thread the arm underneath, reaching for the opposite big toe. Hover above the floor. As you inhale, expand the right fingertips up. And exhale, threading them through. We'll do that just one more time actively here. And then settling into the passive version of this twist. So reaching as far across as you can. Possibly even grabbing hold of the big toe if you like. Maybe you've got a really generous bend on your left elbow. Possibly you're just on fingertips. If you're fairly comfortable, you can lift this top arm and spin the chest open just a little bit more. And then bring the left hand down in front of your face. Unravel the right arm. Step the left knee underneath its hip. Step the right foot out to the side. Working into the second side here. As you inhale, lift the left fingertips. Exhale, reach the hand across, hover it just above the floor. 2 more. Inhale to lift. Exhale, threading through. 1 final time, moving with the breath. This time we come into this more passive version. So we'll reach the left fingertips as far across as we can, maybe even catching the right big toe. Possibly, if we're very comfortable, the right hand lifts. Finding just a couple of rounds of breath here. And then releasing that hand in front of your face to unravel yourself back into a tabletop position. Hands are shoulder distance, tucking under the toes as you exhale. Draw the sitting bones up and back in slow motion. Feel free to keep a really generous bend on the knees in that first downward facing dog. Maybe have a little walk through the feet, pedal the legs, shimmy the hips, just any kind of movement that feels good to allow you to ease into the back of the body. When you're ready, step your feet together at the back of the mat. Lift your left leg up and back into 3-legged dog. Bend the knee, let the foot dangle behind you for split dog. Exhale, draw the knee in towards the chest for tiger's curl. And then step, shimmy or softly land the foot at the front of your yoga mat. Once you arrive, take a moment just to plant your bricks in the center of the yoga mat where you'll need them later. Press into your feet to lift the arms into a high lunge. Generous bend on the back knee. See if you can reach your left fingertips back and tickle the back of your right calf. As you inhale, take your arms back through center transition all the way onto your right leg, facing the right edge of the mat. Left toes lift into a high skandasana. Reach your arms forward and back. Take your body weight back into your left leg. See if you can gradually pick up the right knee into the chest for a twisted Hasta Padangusthasana. You could catch the outside of the knee or possibly outside of your right foot, pressing the heel away from you, spinning the chest open to the right side. Lengthening crown of the head. Finding your last few moments to breathe here, and then we swap again, facing the opposite side of the mat. So we'll slowly release the grip of this right foot. We're going to reach the foot back as we cartwheel the hands. Right hand underneath its own shoulder, left fingertips floating up towards the ceiling, right heel pressing back into twisted half moon pose, Parivrtta Ardha Chandrasana. Finding just a moment of breath here before we soften the standing leg, landing the right foot behind us. Left fingertips might come to your back heel. Right fingertips might reach forward and then pressing the hips to the front of the yoga mat in a reverse low lunge. As you inhale, reaching the arms forward, take your hips back into half splits. Ardha Hanumanasana, bowing over your front leg, lifting the left toes if you will, and feeling free of course to keep a generous bend on the front knee. Now from here, some of you might like to stay quite tall. Some of you might like to try transitioning into a toe balance. So you shift your body weight back until you are on the ball of your right foot, and then you might stay here, possibly bringing the hands in front of the chest. Some of you might choose to float your left leg as well, and that makes it a lot trickier. If you can find a few moments of stillness, well done. And then we'll plant the hands either to the floor, or you might want to use bricks here on the highest or medium setting for a little bit of extra support. We're going to float this leg all the way back, coming to stand on our right foot, floating the left leg into the air for a standing splits. So I have to move these bricks out of my way here. You could keep both hands on the floor for support. Some of you might like to wrap your right arm behind the calf. Possibly both hands could come to the back of the calf if you want to make this more about balance rather than flexibility. And then you're squeezing your left glutes to lift the leg a little bit higher. To come out of this, slowly walk your hands forward into a plank position, shoulders on top of the wrists. Press your left heel and the ball of the foot back. As you exhale, lower down halfway for chaturanga. Inhale, find your upward facing dog or cobra. And exhale, make your way back either via the knees or one straight line to downward facing dog, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. When you're ready, step your big toes together at the back. Inhale to lift your right leg up and back for three-legged dog. Bend the knee, let the foot dangle behind you for split dog. Keep the shoulders square at the front of your mat. And exhale, draw the right knee forward into the chest. Hover shoulders above the wrists for tiger's curl. And step or shimmy, maybe lightly step the foot forward. On an inhale, press into your feet. Find that high lunge on the second side. Generous bend on the front knee. Press into your back foot. Now bend your back knee. See if you can float your right fingertips towards the back calf, reaching the left fingers back. And then transition to the opposite side of your yoga mat. Shift your body weight into the left leg. Lift the right toes for a high skandasana. Float the arms forward and back. Find a moment of stillness, then plant your right foot back to the floor, shimmy or step your left knee to the chest into a twisted, or rather the closed twist version of Hasta Padangusthasana. Maybe right hand comes to the outside of the knee, spinning the chest open, reaching left fingertips back, possibly grabbing hold of the outer edge of the foot, and kicking the foot away from you, spinning the chest open, keeping that tall, long spine towards the ceiling. Final few rounds of breath here. Maybe if you're feeling brave, your eyes can travel to the back thumb, if your balance is really good today. And then we transition again, twisted half moon to the other side of the yoga mat. So gradually let go of your foot. Take it all the way back as you spin your left hand underneath its own shoulder, right fingertips reach for the ceiling, pressing the left leg back, spinning the chest open. Just a few rounds of breath, and then gradually landing the left foot behind you, lowering the knee to the ground. Right hand could come maybe to your back hip, possibly all the way to the calf or heel of the foot. Left fingertips reaching overhead into that reverse low lunge. As you inhale, cartwheeling the hands to frame your front foot, maybe shifting your body weight back to rest on your left heel, flexing the toes towards your face. You could stay here in a very tall position with a bent knee, possibly as you exhale, folding forward over your front leg. Finding just a couple of rounds of breath here. Then gradually walking your hands in so that you come a little bit more upright, shifting your body weight back until you come onto the ball of your left foot. Maybe from here, finding balance, which is tricky enough as it is. Some of you, again, might like to float the front foot and then see if you can still balance there. Really tricky. Just give yourself a breath or two and then prepare yourself for that transition into standing splits. So you might like to have those bricks either side. You're going to press your hands into the bricks to lift up through your left leg and then transition your right foot all the way up and back. Now, if you don't need the bricks for your standing splits, you could have the hands simply underneath your shoulders. Maybe you'll want to bind your left hand behind the calf, which usually allows you to come a little bit closer with your torso to the leg. Maybe you're binding both hands behind the calf, challenging your balance. And then squeezing your glutes to lift your right foot a little bit higher. To come out of this, slowly unravel your hands to the floor. Again, walk your way forward into that 3-point plank until the shoulders stack on top of your wrists. Either skip the vinyasa or exhale to lower halfway down. Inhale into the back bend of your choice. And exhale to float the hips up and back into downward facing dog. Slowly lower the knees all the way down. Let the knees be hip distance. Keep the toes tucked under. As you inhale, lift up onto your knees and we prepare for camel pose. So from here, bringing the hands to the back of our hips, we'll ground the hips down by turning the fingertips down and then pressing the tailbone towards the floor. As you inhale, roll your shoulders back, lengthen front of the body upwards towards the ceiling. Slowly lean into your legs, reaching the shoulders back. Possibly release your hands to the tops of your heels. And if you reach there, then shift your body weight forward so that you're pressing the hips to the front of your mat, lifting through your chest. And if all of that has worked out, then see if you can release the back of your head onto your trapezius muscles. Find a few rounds of breath here and make sure that you are still breathing by giving yourself a little bit of a hum in the back of your throat, just to test whether this is a safe back bend for you. When you're ready to come out, lift your head first. Spin your thighs in to lift yourself up in one straight line and slowly come to sit back on your heels. Walk the hands in front of you. Feel free to rest your forehead on the backs of the hands and have a little sway of the hips left and right to release tension in the lower back. Slowly come back into that kneeling position, simply so that you can release your hips over to the right side. Hook your right toes across the left ankle for mermaid side bend. Plant the left hand to the outside of the feet. Reach the right fingertips up and across. See if you can ground down through your bottom hand to send a little bit more body weight into your right sitting bone. And then lengthen from that sitting bone all the way across through to the right pinky finger to create space along the right side of the waist. You can keep the eyes down towards the floor or lift them up towards the ceiling. Wherever you are, spin the center of the chest open for your final few rounds of breath. On an inhale, use the top arm to come back to center. Lean into your right hip so that you can extract your left foot either in front of the shin, across your knee, or for some of you, maybe stacking the knees with the shins in one line. As you inhale, lift your right arm, bend the elbow, let the hand rest between your shoulders. Reach the left arm on top of the elbow, and then see if you can draw that elbow across to the left side. Just a few rounds of breath. Of course, some of you might like to reach your left hand around your backside to catch your right fingertips, but you don't have to, as you can tell. I'm not going to go there myself. And when you're ready, slowly, gently let your left hand release. Again, briefly lean into your right hip so that you can extract your left leg back. Bring the legs into a 90-degree angle for deer pose. You can walk both hands in front of your right shin. For some of you, it might be helpful to, again, use your bricks here to get a little bit of height. So maybe medium or highest setting would work. For some of you, you might like to take this into full pigeon, in which case you again lean into your right hip just so that you can straighten out your left leg behind you. Turn the knee towards the floor. Turn all of your 5 left toes to the ground and keep your right foot flexing back to protect the knee joint. You could stay in this taller version, or you could soften the elbows, maybe coming all the way onto the front of your body. Again, if you're all the way down, maybe stacking one hand on top of the other, you can rest the forehead. You can allow your jaw to soften, your tongue to release from the roof of the mouth. With each exhale, maybe finding a little bit more release towards the floor. With your next inhale, press down into the ground to walk your hands underneath your shoulders if they're not there already. Tuck under your left toes as you inhale. Sweep your right leg up and back into three-legged dog. For a moment, hook the space between your big toe and the other toes to the back of your left heel. And then see if you can use your toes to press and guide that heel towards the floor behind you, so that you're stretching into your left calf. So you should really feel this at the top of the calf here, where the attachment of the muscles is. If you're not feeling much, you can always walk your hands a little bit further forward to increase the stretch. Or if it's too much, walk the hands back towards the foot. And you can always bend the knee. Step your right foot to the side, come back into a kneeling position to repeat all of that on the second side. So let your hips come over to the left, hook your left foot around your right ankle. Right hand just to the outside of your feet. Left arm goes up and overhead. Again, we are pressing from our bottom right hand to ground the left hip down, sending the body weight in that direction. We might stay here or spin the chest open, maybe lifting the eyes towards the ceiling, but really focusing on that deep extension through the left side of the body. On your next inhale, use the top arm, come back through center, lean over to the left side briefly, extract your right foot, either in front of the shin, across the knee, or stacking the knees if you prefer, for cow face pose, which is such a wonderfully named pose. So from there, bringing your left arm across, bending at the elbow, see if you can touch the space between the shoulders or reach towards it with your left hand. Right hand goes across to the elbow. And from there, allowing that arm to come across behind your head. So it might not go very far. We really just want to stretch out the back of the arm. Again, working a little bit deeper into the side body, really making sure that we're expanding and opening those muscles. Oftentimes a little bit of a neglect happening there. Not something we tend to think about, the side body. Gradually again, release the top arm. Plant the hands either side so that you can lean over to the left leg. Plant your right leg behind you. And then you might again find that 90-degree action with your legs, the toes flexing back towards your shin bone. For deer pose, again, you might choose to use bricks. You might be on your fingertips. If you're coming into full pigeon pose, then you're going to want to lean a little bit to the left just so you can tuck under and straighten your right leg, The right knee and all of your toes want to point towards the floor. You're still keeping this front foot strongly flexing back to protect the left knee. And for the very bendy ones amongst you, you might want to come onto forearms. You might want to rest your head on top of the hands. And once you arrive, again, just finding stillness, finding softness within the body. Maybe rolling your forehead left and right a few times, releasing any tension that you're holding there. Seeing if you can soften the spaces around the eyes. Maybe closing the eyes completely. And on your next inhale, lifting the head first. If you're on the floor, planting your hands back underneath the shoulders. Tucking your right toes under so that you can slowly sweep your left leg up and back into three-legged dog. See if you can hook the space between your big toe and the other toes onto the back of your right heel, and then use your toes to pull that heel towards the ground. Again, if you're not feeling anything, walk the hands a little bit further forward to deepen the stretch. If you're feeling too much, walk the hands back. And you can always bend the knee. Don't forget your options. Even at this point, you could still be in a child's pose, having a great old time. And then when you're ready, step the feet apart, lower the knees. One last moment, separating the knees as wide as is comfortable into that child's pose. Maybe for some of you at this point, wanting to take a more restorative version, you can rest the forehead and release your hands towards the feet behind you with the palms spinning up towards the ceiling. Possibly rolling the head across the mat a few times. On an inhale, round through the spine to come all the way onto your knees. Find a comfortable seat. Bring the palms in front of your chest. Bow the forehead towards the hands. Use this final moment of practice to give yourself a little bit of gratitude for showing up on your yoga mat despite whatever odds you faced today. And then finally plant your sankalpa, that good intention that guides you from your yoga mat back into the real world. Hari Om, Om Tat Sat, Namaste. So thank you so much for joining me in today's practice, yogis. I hope you enjoyed this slightly different class, and of course, if you have any suggestions, requests or feedback, please pop those in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed the video, do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Share it with your friends to help me spread the good word about our community here. And of course, if you want to find me anywhere else online, all of that information is in the video description down below. I hope to see you back on your yoga mat very soon, and thank you so much for joining me today. Bye.